Everybody's got microphones. All right, good evening. I call to order the Rocky Hill Board of Education's third and final budget workshop for Thursday, February 5th, 2026. It is 6:44. We apologize for the delay. Could you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? So we are here this evening to continue our discussion about the 2026-2027 budget presentation. However, before we begin tonight, we had some exciting things happen in district this week, and so I'm going to turn the microphone over to board member Mr. Clemens.
Thank you. Those of you who watched the news last night on Channel 3, the girls' basketball team, which is 12-1, was the WFSB Team of the Week. They did an interview with Coach Asadorian and Kelsey LeMay and Katie Harding. It was a nice little piece they did on the girls. They're off to a phenomenal start. And our boys hockey team is undefeated, 12-0. This is the best start this team has ever had in the history of the program, dating back to 1998. So they're off to a phenomenal start. They're number one in their division. And so we're going to have a good postseason for two of our teams. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for bringing that to our attention earlier today. It's always nice when we can give a shout out to our students who are absolutely amazing and always make us very proud here in Rocky Hill. Okay, so this evening, I am actually going to turn the microphone over to Dr. Zito so that we can go through. Everyone should have a blue folder in front of them. We're going to start through that. We're also going to be hearing from Mr. LaMontagne this evening to go over the CIP and talk facilities, and then answer any follow-up questions. Dr. Zito.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fredo. So I'm going to work through the folder. It's a lot of cleanup from what you had last time in terms of questions and follow-ups, and we'll work through each document and answer any questions you have. So the first thing we were asked to do was to provide a quote. It's the first page for the server for the Eaton UPS backup. You could see that the total parts and warranty on the items are $49,000 with an installation of $5,500. I want to thank Ron and Chris for putting this together. So we'll start there. Are there any questions from board members for either Chris or Ron about this quote that we were asked to get for you?
Do we know how long it would take to get all of the supplies that you need? Is this something that would come in right away, or something that you foresee could be on hold due to a variety of different reasons?
This kind of stuff is not in super high demand. It's one of those things, in our case, it's been 10 years, so they're fairly confident they can get most of the stuff from their distributors. I'm still waiting on a finalized quote. This is, we call it budgetary, basically. It should be high, but I'm still waiting for them to give me a formalized quote. This is basically list price for one of the websites, for one of the vendors. I have my vendors fighting over it at the moment.
Once you get all of the parts, how quickly do you think it could be installed?
We're figuring it'll be about a day.
Oh.
It'll be a one-day project. We'll have to do some coordination, make sure we don't, vital services are up and backed up in a different way before we transition, but our electricians estimate about a day. Yep.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions besides me? Go ahead, Mr. Clemens.
First of all, thank you for this quote. I know you got it done quickly. Just to jog my memory, originally this was on your wish list, or you had this budgeted, was this budgeted for 27, 28? Is that where it says battery and power on the bottom?
The 35, I
Yeah.
think we had it. Yeah, that was
That's
the number.
this?
Yes, that's this.
Okay. So this 55 would be in addition to the 617 that's for this year?
We have 517 in
517,
but
that's
yes,
right.
it would be in addition to that. Yep.
All right, thank you.
And obviously, we wouldn't have to do it next year. I just kept
Oh, no, I fully understand. I just
keep
wanted to make
moving it
sure,
down the road.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at your great chart here, just
Yep.
where things are.
Absolutely. That was a number from a couple of years ago that I
Yes,
just kept. throwing out.
obviously.
Any other questions?
Just one more follow-up.
Sure.
You mentioned when you gave your talk last week, you gave your presentation about the new prices coming in anywhere, I think it was between 10 and 30% increase. Did you get those prices?
Specifically, no, but I did get a refresh right before those new prices, and Chromebooks alone were about $40 a piece more from 2 weeks prior to that.
$40 each more?
$40 each more. Yep. So I haven't gotten any updates from my vendors since then, but everyone that I'm speaking to is basically warning me to try and buy early, which,
Gotcha.
depending on how this all shakes out, may be helpful.
All right, thank you. That's all I had.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Chris.
Second item, some minor adjustments as we work through. You have a blue sheet in front of you. Worked with Scott on putting this together. You can see the projected increase to match the contract offer we had from NBT, 14.5%, so we raised the field trip line item. And then the follow-up with the Park and Rec Department, anticipating the reimbursement on the price for the paraprofessionals who work in the Bright Beginnings program. We can reduce that line by 45, so the net impact is 27,143 overall on a budget, so it drops it slightly to an 8.85. So that's pretty straightforward. Again, the budget is a working document, so I anticipate more fluctuations if you add things or subtract things, but that's kind of where we stand right now. I like to keep a running score as we work through and kind of know where you are. Any questions about those two items? I think we discussed them pretty extensively. Okay, next document you have has purple and white document. I'm going to ask Wendy to dig into this a little bit. It's information that we were asked about with the grants and consultants that are handled by Wendy's office.
Thank you, Dr. Zito. So at the last meeting, I was asked about the consultants that we have hired this year and where they were being paid from. And I do want to correct for the record that sometimes it's hard when you're being asked questions on the spot to remember almost $1 million and where it's going. So we do have some consultants that are paid out of the BOE professional development line item, and you can see that in the column. And then we have others who are paid out of the various grants that we receive. Most of these I can go through. We've hired an executive coach. We have a lot of new building level administrators this year, and we wanted to provide them with an extra layer of support. You know, there's a lot to learn in a district, and so we also have a lot of new people up here at central office, so we wanted to make sure that we were supporting not only our teachers across the district, but also our administrators. And then we hired ACES to deliver our restorative practices training, both to our admin team and as to our teachers throughout the school year. And then we hired a CREC consultant to align our MTSS standards to best practice. And we also have a diversity consultant that we hire out of the Open Choice Grant. And the amounts for each are listed in the right-hand column.
Any follow-up questions on the consultant report? No?
Okay. And then moving on, I provided you with a breakdown of the different grants for 25-26 by line item with the total grant allocation in the right-hand column. The first page are all federal grants. If you turn to the second page, these are state level grants. And then I also provided for you, and I spoke to this last time, the immigrant grant, which is an additional federal grant that you need to qualify for. And then the additional state grants, some of which are competitive, and I noted that as such on that page. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Mr. Kosker?
All right, can you hear me? Okay. This is more of sort of a, thank you for this breakdown, this is super helpful, I appreciate it. It's sort of a general question that I feel like a little silly that I don't know the answer to this after being, this is my third year on the board, but I want to just make sure I do understand it correctly, is with the grant money, and just thinking about it in total, 1 point whatever million, 1 million plus, all these grants, federal, state, all combined.
Yeah.
That money we get from all these different places, and that is separate from our 60 million, whatever dollar amount we come up with. So we have our $60 million budget, because that's town money we're asking for basically, or going through that process. So these grants are separate from that. So I'm clear on that, that's
Yes,
correct.
yes, that's
So then
correct.
two related questions that is, when we look at our FTEs,
Yeah.
and we look at, okay, there's, and I know there's a page in here that we're gonna update and go through, 200 and whatever, 400 and some odd, 200 and some odd teachers, 400 and some odd total. When we look at those FTEs, are the ones from the grants were plural,
Yes.
included in those numbers? So that FTE is like totally employed by the district. Some of those on the FTE pages are from our budget, so to speak, and some are from grant. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're all included. I just wanted to make sure, because I was like, wait a minute, there's all these little half FTE here and one
Yes.
here and one here, and then I'm like, all right, that adds up
It's a
to a
good
bunch of
question.
folks.
Yes.
And those are included.
Yeah.
In the same way, and I know, Dr. Zito, you talked about this with our per pupil expenditure, and there's the formula, and the state does their stuff, we give them the stuff, and they come up with the numbers. Is that grant money included in that? I mean, I would imagine that's included in the per pupil, or maybe we don't know the answer, and it's sort of an off-the-cuff question, I apologize. But I thought of that, and I was like, huh. And it's the same across every district anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. It was just, again, I know it's not as easy as saying 60 million divided by, 2,400, 2,500 students. It's not quite that
Scott's
simple.
gonna look at the formula.
All right. And I
while
apologize,
he-
I know.
While he's looking for that.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to also share that we received a communication that the federal government has approved these title grants that we're speaking about.
Yeah.
And so their fiscal year is a little different. It's September 30th. So they're going to be funded through 2027. So I just wanted to make sure that you understand that as we're planning for the budget, that, because this is the 26-27 budget we're looking at, that these grants are fully funded through the next budget cycle.
Through September 30th of 2027.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep,
okay,
okay?
sure. Yeah, that's weird, yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
sort of get it, but because, I mean, I read the news every day, just like everyone else, and the budget thing's a total nightmare at the state and federal level, but, okay, thanks.
All right, to answer your question,
Yeah,
yes, it does include
Okay.
those grants. Is it,
Okay. I would think so, just because, again, I mean, thinking about a larger city that gets, hundreds of millions from some of these grants in total, it would be silly not to include it, but I just kind of wanted to like,
Statute reads from all.
Yeah.
Yeah, net current expenditures includes all current public elementary and secondary expenditures from all sources.
yeah, okay, cool,
And I do remember, working with Chuck at the end of the year,
yeah,
when we upload our information to the EFS system.
has to be everything.
It does, those are listed there as well,
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
expenditures.
Okay, cool, because you get all these other little funky grants, 20 grand here, 30 grand here, and they add up and they go towards that. So, awesome, thank you so much. Thanks, Jess.
Any other questions?
I do just have a
Ms.
quick question.
Duganowitz?
Thank you. So I'm just looking at the consultant report and the ones that come out of the Board of Ed funds. And I'm looking at and maybe this isn't the right place to look, but I'm learning here. But I'm looking at the professional development breakdown in the object budget. So in the object budget, it's kind of broken out by admin and per school. And to improve like, there's just different line items. So I think it would be helpful to see kind of how this equals out within the different line items and how the other professional development funds are used.
I'm sorry, I'm not following the
So
question.
on page 14 of the
program?
object budget, is the professional development line items. Objects, yeah.
14 of the object?
Yeah, of object. Sorry. And I'm just, I apologize that I just
Okay,
don't know.
yeah, I see what you're looking at.
So it's broken out kind of like by school, right? Like admin for the high school, GMS, Westo. And then there's general admin up top. And then the second one, I'm assuming that's improve instruction. And I'm just looking at the amount. So I'm just kind of curious how the 34-ish thousand coming out of the professional development lines on the consultant report relate to these different line items?
Okay.
Like
So-
what the split out is?
Yeah, so the ones that say professional development admin by schools, the administrators have in their contract professional development funds that are for them.
Okay.
That's what those line items are reflecting, and there are 2 administrators per building, and then at the high school, there's 3. So that's why those numbers look the way they do, right? Then the improvement of instruction, that is the general fund that we use for professional development. So when you look over on this chart and you see professional development BOE funds, it's coming out of that line,
Okay,
okay? And then general admin, I'm not 100% sure, I think it may be district central office PD,
okay.
okay?
Do we, sorry, I have a lot of questions kind of just bubbling up in my brain. Can I just like hold them and ask them after, just so I can get my thoughts in line, so I,
Sure, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
go
you.
ahead. I'm still catching up on my notes because
Trying to follow the pages.
Mrs. Durand went through that very quickly. All right. And any other questions while we're on this topic of professional development? I just want to be fair to everybody. No? Okay, Ms. Danowitz, when you're ready, please let me know. I do think you were probably finished with the grants overview, correct, Ms. Durand?
Yeah, I
Okay.
reviewed the 2
Do you,
documents, yes.
do you want me to come back to this when you're ready with questions, or do you just need a minute? We can take a minute.
well, I have some other professional development questions that aren't necessarily related directly to the consultants, so I might just hold them and ask them all at, when I say
I think
all,
what
there's
we're
not
going to
that
do
many,
is
I
probably
promise.
move on to the next purple
That's
page,
fine.
which is special education grant overview. Is that
Yeah, go
okay?
ahead.
Is everyone good with that? Okay, beautiful. We're going to move there then.
So you have the special education grant overview, you have a snapshot of one year there. And these are 2-year grants, they roll over, but you could kind of see when we took the 598 and how that breaks out. Most of it is staffing. So you see almost 4 teachers, to Tom's question earlier, are funded out of the federal IDEA grant, part-time speech language pathology. A lot of times, an individual person may have some of the salary coming from the IDEA grant and some from board operated. As they move up the salary schedule, sometimes a person who's in the grant might get switched out for a person who's lower on the salary schedule. That happens too, because the grant number doesn't go up to match people's raises. So you can kind of see most of it is dedicated to staffing, and then you see some stuff with outside evaluations, the correct consultant for the Compass program. You know, very, very comprehensively broken out. Jesse can respond to any additional questions you have. It's basically 3 grants. IDA 611 is huge. The 619 is a very small grant, funds basically 1/7 of the salary for a special ed teacher. And then we talked last meeting about the seed grant, the total allocation, $93,000. We broke it out for you. So, I know you wanted to see a little bit more under the hood on how we break out the money, so that's what you have.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Mr. Kosker?
Good assumption that I'll have a few questions or clarifications. So thank you very much again for this. It's super helpful. And again, part of the reason I asked the question is to point it out, not just for me, but for other board members and the public, that we do get a bunch of money from these grants that fund a lot of positions. But actually, Dr. Zudi made a good point in that the increases in the grant amount year to year don't necessarily keep pace with, other increases, such as teacher salaries and benefits and such, certainly not benefits at 16% a year. So some of that increase in those things ends up getting absorbed in the budget, the board budget, right?
Yeah.
Just because you have to naturally. But besides that increase, generally, we're able to kind of fund the same number of FTEs, roughly, I would imagine, over the years, because these numbers don't go down as a rule, right? And I mean, you've been here a few minutes, but they don't go down. So they're generally heading in the north direction at least a little bit, or sort of flat, but
Yeah.
up a little. And I think the seed grant is the same sort of thing. They've committed, statewide X number, $30 million. We get our slice of the pie. That slice of the pie should generally stay fairly
That's how I
consistent, is the way we understand it, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. It's just because I don't want the people to think that, because sometimes it's tough with short-term grants, and none of these are that. Like, most of these, I say none, most of these are all long-term ones that are going to be perpetually happening. So we don't have to worry about absorbing positions that we got under a grant and then, our budget's going up. These are positions that continuously get funded. I just want to make sure I had that clear. So, okay, cool. And that's it. And thank you for the breakdown. Super helpful. There's a lot of really good stuff, I think, that we're all doing with the money. You know what I mean? With the positions and some of the specific ones, certainly on the behavior side, I think are really important for, again, students, families, administrators and staff, I'm sure, are really pleased with that. So, no, thank you for this. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Any other questions? I also appreciate the breakdown. I think it's a lot easier to understand when you see everything written out. So thank you for the time and effort it went to break everything down for us, because I think I'd love to see it this way every year.
Yeah, we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
The next item, you have a sheet that breaks down the private outplaced and the public outplaced, and the tuition, and the expected reimbursements. So you see the total cost for each line item there with the number of students: 10 private outplaced, 7 public outplaced, 23 internal students. The eligible amount for excess cost reimbursement, the 70% anticipated reimbursement, the 30% we know we won't get back, and the overall hit to the general fund. And we've gone over this in detail, but I think Mr. Kosker had requested this level of detail on the breakout. So, we're happy to respond to any questions you have there, but I will credit Sandy and the predecessor in the special ed office, Amy Stevenson, really started to go after the internal funds, which early when I was here, that wasn't being done, and credit to them. And Sandy was heavily involved in that, and significant amount of money coming back on the internal as well.
Any questions on this document? Go ahead,
This is
Mr. Kosker.
sort of, and this is great. I don't really have any questions, more of just again a clarification. Because I wasn't even aware, and I'm aware of a lot of this stuff, with the number of students that are potentially eligible for excess costs who are in district. So that's, again, great and terrible. I think I said last time.
It's a lot of work to track it down.
I imagine.
But it's a good thing to do, because you can see the
It's worth it.
You know, the return on
Right.
the work.
You can get some dollars back
100%.
if we, as we track it really closely.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's great. And just seeing for that line item, the internal 23 students, you're looking at, 753,000 in total, that's eligible. And that's a chunk of money. That's a chunk of money, and the excess cost and getting that, again, $500,000 back from the state is pretty incredible. And that number, 70%, has been consistent over many years, and there's always bills to increase it, and they never pass. So no one ever expects, so no one that works in this area expects it to go anywhere anytime soon, because the state ain't got the money to put into that. It comes up every year. There's a bill in the legislature again this year to increase it, but it's not gonna go anywhere. But that's really helpful, and I appreciate all the hard work that goes into doing that, and that brought back into town, again, $500,000 for those students, so that's great. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions on that from anybody? Okay. Before we get to CIP, I was asked to, about the board goals from 2016 to 2018. You have a copy of those in your packet. I skipped over CIP. We'll come back to that with Ron. And the reason I was asked about it was the history on the world language position. So the world language position at Mosier was part of the ed specs, actually. I looked at that a little bit too. Ron reminded me, I'd helped Fryer write those ed specs way back in the day when the building was designed. But as part of the ed specs, it was a definite board goal to expand world language down to grade 4 with the opening of the 4-5 school. So when we opened the school, the board staffed that position there. As I said earlier, it's much more of giving kids exposure to French and Spanish and kind of an appreciation for different cultures. And nobody's expecting kids to become fluent in either language after a couple years of 4th grade, 5th grade instruction. And we gave you the kind of the schedule earlier. It's like a rotating every 3 days. But that's the background. That's why that position was there, because the board was very precise in their decision to add that position. It's interesting, as I look back through the history, we did offer Italian here at one point. We had a grant one year, we tried Italian at the high school. Maria, you remember that?
Yes, I do.
You were a fan of it, so was I, but we found out that our high school wasn't large enough to offer 4 languages. They were kind of stealing kids from the Latin program, and then both numbers were down, and French was a little bit down, and ultimately Italian flamed out. So we're still with 3 languages, just to remind everybody, French, Spanish, and Latin at the high school, which is fairly sufficient. It's usually 3 or 4 sections of Latin a year, and Mr. Bennett's done a good job of kind of keeping that enrollment where it is. He also teaches a mythology course, typically, so he's doing 3 or 4 classes of Latin, and he's got a 5-period schedule. But those are the 3 languages. Spanish numbers are always robust. French has improved significantly since when I came here. French numbers were in danger, and the department worked really hard to get more kids to take French. But just let you know, we had Italian at one point too. Tried it. We lasted 4 or 5 years, and then the numbers started to decline, and we just couldn't justify the staffing for the Italian program. So that's kind of just the history on world languages. But it was a board goal back in the day, and that's why the position was placed at Mosier. Happy to answer any questions on world language.
I will say I do remember Frank Morse and Brian Dillon pushing for the world language back at Mosier, and we were all on board with that.
Yeah, 100%,
We
yeah.
definitely were all on board with
Yeah.
that. We thought that the exposure to the children at that age was perfect.
Yeah, and when the board put it in as a goal, and then authorized the position, we hired somebody. So we had that position there. Last year it was removed because we went through a whole meeting where we had to reduce by $650,000, and there were some tough choices that were made by the board. But that's kind of history. So I'm happy to answer any other questions anybody has about world language.
Ms. Tucker?
I think I struck the world language. I don't want my comments to be misconceived. World language is important. Introduction to it is important. I would like to see it more effective. I feel like 25 days of a half hour of Spanish in 25 days, I don't think I did that math right, half a year of Spanish, half a year of French for 30 minutes. I don't feel like it's an effective dollar. Like, I wish there was a way to do more with the dollars. I don't know what that more is. Do you double it up in 5th grade and not do 4th grade? Like, I'm not against it. I think it's important to introduce it. I just feel like for the dollar we're paying, we're not getting the effective use of it. That's I just didn't want,
Yeah.
I didn't want
No, and
the
you bring
feeling
up
to
a
be like,
great
I'm against
concept.
world language.
I
That's
mean,
not what I was.
No, it's an excellent point that we could look at starting it in 5th grade and the kids would get more time. The function of one teacher is that the individual is spread so far.
So thin.
To see all the kids in the school, it's a rotation every 3 days. We try to give them exposure to both languages because ultimately in 7th grade, they're gonna make a choice between French or Spanish. The 6th grade is a similar thing. They only get kind of a touch of it in grade 6. 7th grade is where they really dive in.
Right.
But the positive is, at least you're hoping the kids are a little bit excited about it. Like, wow, now I'm in 7th grade and I've had 3 years of kind of the training wheels in French or Spanish, and now I get to make a choice and really dive into, full year of Spanish 1. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to ever kind of do anything to diffuse that excitement. You want
Right.
kids to be excited. You don't want to stamp that out. But certainly something that can be looked at. You're right. If we just offered it in grade 5 with one teacher, we could look at scheduling that would get the kids more of an
A little bit
experience
more.
in each language. Yeah, it's a philosophy question on when you want to start the intro. I know at the time, the board kept saying, well, Glastonbury starts in 1st grade, Glastonbury starts in 1st grade. We're not Glastonbury, but I understood that thinking too. Like, if we can get it down to at least 4th grade, we're starting to compete with those District B districts.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Mr. Kosker?
Yeah, just to follow up that, thanks, Amber, because it's an interesting thought. I like the thought, because I'm not remembering, it's been 7 or 8 years since my daughter was in 6th grade, but they do both in 6th grade, and that meets every day, right? It's a regular-ish
We do
class? I
like a
sort of
quarter
don't,
each subject, basically.
No.
a quarter.
It's on a rotation.
It's on a
They
rotation
just get
too,
to
okay,
it.
so there's a,
It's a marking period of one language, a marking period of another. They're on like a rotation of
Okay.
courses.
all right, so it's similar in a way.
Yeah, they get like 45 days of French and then 45 days of Spanish.
Gotcha, for half the year, and then half the year's other stuff,
Yeah, JD,
other
can you
specials.
provide more detail on that?
That's close enough, I think. That's,
Dr. Zito has it right.
yeah, okay.
There's
All right.
Unified Arts has 4 quarters.
4 quarters, and one is Spanish, one is French, okay.
Art,
Okay.
Spanish, French, that's
I
our
gotcha,
6th graders.
okay.
One of their UA wheels.
Yeah, I gotcha. And this one is more of a rotation all year in 4th and 5th, like,
The history
yeah.
actually is when Mosher was constructed and it was put in the ed specs,
yeah,
we didn't start world language until 7th grade.
Right.
And the
I remember
board
that.
said,
Yeah.
we can't offer it at Mosher and then
Yeah.
basically have a gap year
Yeah.
with no exposure, and then jump into 7th grade. So we worked to staff GMS as well with a teacher that could at least offer a similar kind of level of exposure. So the kids are essentially getting 3 years of exposure to both languages, and then they make a choice going into 7th grade.
awesome, thanks. Yeah, and I do remember that with Mosher when we were building, I was like, why are there world language classrooms? And I remember that whole
Yeah.
process, so I
It was a-
appreciate that.
It was one of the 7 board goals.
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
time.
no, it was great. And
Wanted to
just,
give you that context.
and just on record, we're better than Glastonbury already, so we don't need to compete with Glastonbury.
We beat 'em on snow days.
Sorry for anybody in the audience that lives in Glastonbury. Anyway,
All right, and
Thank you.
Again, before we get to the CIP, if there's no other questions on the world language, you have, I caught an error on the personnel summary.
that's what I got.
You have updated sheets for the district-wide. It's specific just to the elementary classrooms. We have 56 teachers under Code 40 elementary classroom. That's 55 teachers in regular classrooms and another elementary teacher who's assigned to the Compass program with an elementary cert who works with special ed staff as well. We also, your old sheet indicated 57 because we had a person this year who's drew a salary for a portion of the year on maternity leave, never actually covered a classroom, but was listed as the 57th salary. So those other sheets weren't wrong. but the actual employed number as we speak is 56, and we're going to 57 in the budget proposal. And you see that's reflected on the West Hill sheet is the one sheet we have to update. There's now 20 classroom teachers accounted for at West Hill and 20 for next year as well. So that kind of covers that. And then the only other document you had was Ron worked with Dr. Nozick to give you a draft CIP. And I know, Ms. Lafredo, you had indicated you wanted to get into this tonight as well.
I did.
So we kind of did the housekeeping paperwork. I'm going to ask Ron to come on up to the podium. And you can, you all have kind of a little bit easier on the eyes. We blew this up a little bit for you.
Yes.
And Ron is here to kind of take you through it.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Hi.
everybody. I guess, you know, with the CIP in front of you, I guess we can start with any initial questions that people have to start with. I mean, or would you like me to go through line item by line item? Because I know it sometimes gets confusing as to why things are where they are.
Well, if you start line item by line item, the big hot topic is the HVAC. Would
It
you
is a
like to
hot
start
topic.
there?
No pun intended, hot topic? Sure, we'll start there. So as you know, we've completed 2 phases of the HVAC project. And that's going back to the 22-23 school year. So the numbers that we have on here are based on a 2019 estimate when we started the project. So this only continues to go up in price the longer we keep putting this out. And we've been able to do some projects based on what we've had available for funding. Recently, the state opened up the HVAC replacements to the non-priority grants, which will help us because we can get 44 to 47% back from the state. So that helps us, but that changes the process of how we do them. I can't just get $1 million tomorrow and get something in and hope for reimbursement. We have the same process that we just went through with the roof. There's resolutions to be written. The town has to guarantee that the town's share is available and set aside for funding the project. So it sort of changes how we do it. I would love to get it all done in one shot, but you'll be finding me $3 million to do so. So we've become very creative on how we get projects done over time and phasing them in. And we can continue to do that, probably with 2 fairly large phases. But that's what we're looking at now. And we're not given any money last year for this current fiscal year for anything. So that's why there's nothing planned for this summer. And knowing that we have to apply for grants and whatnot, we're going to have to move it out. Part of the other reason why there's nothing going on this summer is the roof is happening at West Hill, where our ESY program is typically in the summer. I can't have kids in a building when we're doing a roof. So they're being shifted over to Stevens for the summer. So we're at least one summer out from even starting another project there on the HVAC.
Questions about HVAC?
Sure,
Ms. Ms. Manella had her hand up first, so I'm going to start over here. Go ahead, that's okay.
Oh, sorry. Ron, can you just explain which rooms in Stevens are not air conditioned?
It's
Not.
probably easier. Well, every classroom space has air conditioning in it. I want everyone to know that. It's not a central air system. When I think it was the first summer I started here, I had custom-made sleeves put into the windows so we could put large window units in. When I started here, the only air-conditioned classrooms were the classrooms that had medically necessary reasons to have them. We expanded on that. So the only spaces that now where students, there might be a resource office. The cafeteria does not have anything, but the majority of their day they are in a conditioned space. It's not ideal. It's a little noisy, and we want to go in the right direction. But I just want everyone to understand that kids aren't in 100-degree classrooms in our buildings, and they never would be. We've always done what we've had to do, whether we bring in portable air conditioners we have means to do so. So they're not unconditioned. But as far as new construction wise, it's probably easier to tell you what is done. So brand new air conditioning and heating is in the front wing, which is classrooms 1 through 12, and the gym. Those are the two brand new spaces, the two spaces that have brand new HVAC systems in them. So that's the front wing, 1957. I know people like when I use those numbers. The gym, and so what doesn't have it is 1967, which is the back wing. And the original kindergarten classrooms don't have anything new in them. Those are off the main office. And then some resource type classrooms and that sort of thing, spread out throughout the building.
Thank you.
Questions, Ms. Dudanowitz or Mr. Kusker? Go ahead.
She's letting me go first. Thank you for that, and I always love the fact that the 1967 wing is the new wing. So I love that. It's older than me, so that's interesting, and I'm starting to feel pretty old. So with these two the way you have it phased out now, you have it split. The $3 million split into $2.5 million buckets. Again, I know the 2019 estimates, so the numbers are probably going to be north of that.
Yes.
Because things go up. You have them planned out right now for not this coming fiscal year that we're talking about today, but the next two after that. And the reasoning for that is both process that you talked about with grants and all that stuff, as well as smoothing out the requests year to year as well. Is that correct?
To try and keep a level total
Year to
capital.
year,
Yeah.
total
So
CIP.
it's not a large burden in 1 year.
In 1 year for CIP, right? So, because if we were to try to say, hey, let's get this all hammered out in 1 year, it's tough to ask for $3 million plus all the other stuff
That's always been the
in 1 year.
method
So
that we
that's
approached.
just trying to think through that process of why is this not happening quicker, sort of a question that we get. And is it also phased because there's only so much you can do in a summer? Like, I know there's always that, like, there's only so much you can handle in a
Part of that,
couple
part
months.
of that is correct. We would not be able to do that entire building in one
Right, so you
summer.
couldn't do the rest of it. Let's say someone dropped $3 million in her lap, it'd be
Well,
difficult to do.
I do believe we could complete the rest of it in one summer now that we've done two
Okay.
phases. I do
So we
believe that.
could possibly now, okay.
Yes, I do
All
believe
right, I'm just trying to think of, I just want to understand all the different implications, so it's like, okay, if, some super rich graduate of Rocky Hill, came back and said, here's $3 million, AC it, then maybe they work for an AC company or something. All right, no, that's great. I think that explains it, because I know we get questions about this one often, right? And I also appreciate the clarification that everyone's got AC. So, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Dudanowitz.
Thank you, this is very helpful. Just a couple kind of like historical questions. So you said this predates me. So like you said that this goes back to 22-23 school year?
That was our first installation, yes.
And was it grant funding originally?
It was not. However, we were able to retroactively apply for grant reimbursement, which Dr. Nozick and I have been working on to complete and submit to the state for reimbursement. So it was approximately, we were eligible for $760,000 worth of work for a grant award, of which would get back about $340,000. We've actually spent more than that.
Yeah.
Because the cost came in after the fact. So once they approve you for a grant, you can't, it's ineligible anything above and beyond that grant. So
Okay.
we are recovering approximately $340,000. So we were retroactively, so phase one was the only one that we had to retroactively go toward for grant money.
Okay.
But those were not on the non-priority. That was the special HVAC competitive grant
Right.
that we had initially.
And I'm only asking because, I think there's been maybe misconceptions around the funding for this. I think just like publicly and how, was it emergency COVID funds eventually at some point? And, because those lapsed or because we didn't use them, now the town has to pick it up So can you just clarify any
So,
misconceptions there?
During COVID, we did use COVID funding to complete the West Hill air conditioning.
Okay, so maybe that's what the
So, yeah, we
confusion
only
is?
had so much.
There was the
and
rooftop units.
The rooftop units and the interior units were done as well. So that has a complete new system that was funded through COVID funding.
Okay.
You know, we weren't in charge of COVID funding, the town was. So that's, you know, so they.
Oh,
they
no,
use
no,
it-
I meant-
I
yeah.
understand. I just want people to understand that we didn't get a pile of money and say, let's spend it on this. We worked with the town to be able to use that money for that replacement. So so obviously there were grants for that project too.
Yeah.
The other piece with the COVID money that was important, and it was smart to spend it on facilities, was it didn't create a staffing cliff.
Yeah,
A lot of
exactly.
districts dumped it into personnel,
Mhm.
and then when the ESSER monies went away,
Right.
they were looking at huge layoffs. And we were very strategic about, we did hire a couple of positions with COVID money, but most of it was spent on facilities.
No, that's helpful, and like, I appreciate the clarification, because I think that's different than some of the messaging that's happening in the community, so I think that's helpful. Thank you. I don't have any other questions right now.
Any other questions about HVAC?
Oh, sorry, one more.
Oh, go
They
ahead.
all, so you said they all have some type of air conditioning. What about heat?
They all have heat.
They
yes.
all have heat.
Yes.
I just have to ask.
We absolutely would have heard about it over the last
Yeah,
14
well,
days if they
that's-
didn't.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's older in most of the building, but we're on top of it. When we know there's a problem, our staff addresses it. You know, sometimes it's hard finding some parts, but we do get to it. And we've had to bring in space heaters when there's
Yeah.
a delay in getting things, but there is heat.
And do
The
we
legal
know?
date on that is October 15th. The heat must be on. Reminding me every year. It's
Yes.
that day.
It has to be legally on October 15th, and I can legally turn it off on April 15th, but I don't.
But you don't.
I don't.
I just had one other question kind of pop into my brain. Sorry. I know, I'm like, sorry.
Must be because you're sitting next to
It's
Mr.
me- I'm like,
Kosker.
it's rubbing off. What is the energy effect, like the energy consumption that we are potentially paying for window units?
Because of the window units?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, the new equipment's gonna cost more than running those window units, because they're much larger. They're energy efficient equipment.
That's in there now?
Well, no, so the equipment we put in is energy efficient. It doesn't mean we're gonna use less energy than what we're using now, because now you have to have multiple units doing different types of things. You have to have a unit that's bringing in, we are bringing in fresh air, but we changed that out, so there'll be a makeup air unit that has to be conditioned now, so now there's a compressor and heating source for that to bring it up to 60 or down to 60 before it goes to the classrooms. So there's more equipment involved. So I can't say that there's gonna be a huge savings energy-wise. But, you know, but we will, you know, it probably will be a wash. It's not like we're throwing money out the window because of the air conditioners that are there now. But typically, you know, we put in energy-saving equipment at the high school during the renovation. Our electric bills are a lot higher now than they were when the high school wasn't renovated. It's just because there's more of it.
Yep.
And, you know, so that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you.
I think you also mentioned in the past that there was legislation that was out about how hot or cold a classroom can be, and I know you've been up on that. So
Yes.
you are very careful in all of our buildings to make sure that you're following the guidelines from the state.
And so far, we have never achieved the warmest part of that. Believe it or not, the buildings, even, you know, the cafeteria at Stevens, even though there's no air conditioning, stays fairly cool on a 90-degree day because we're bringing return air from the other spaces, and it does get circulated through the building. So I can't remember a day where we've been over 85, 86 in any of the unconditioned spaces. But we do monitor that because we have to.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had one of my children complain about being too hot or too cold in any of their buildings. So you're doing something right.
I try.
Okay, so moving on to the doors and windows at Stevens, would you like to talk a little bit about that? Because I know that could possibly, well, that it looks like it's projected out to 29,
Yeah, so
30.
that is, you know, that some of these things that are out in the later years are sort of like the wish list items. Do we need windows and doors at Stevens? Yes. Can we walk in and out of our building with the doors we have now? Yes. But there would be an energy savings there. It's single pane glass, the glazing is starting to deteriorate, and I'm sure Ms. Collado would like to tell you about the draft she feels across her desk every day. And Ms. Duran had the same complaint. But, they're due. It's a big project that's not just, calling Window World and having them pop things in. That's an architect, that's also a reimbursable project,
Okay.
moving forward.
What about, have you looked at window tinting to help with the drafting of?
The biggest drafts are actually more so, it's more a radiant draft, so tinting isn't really gonna do much.
Okay.
It'll stop some reflection and stuff and that sort of thing, but it's kind of just like pushes through the glass and any glazing that's there now. And we've gone through and we've had them come out and seal things up, but we're, again, 1957 and
Right.
1967. So they're old. So that's really, it's pushed out because it's something that does have to be designed. So when facilities committee is ready to do that, they'll have me go out. We'll get an architect to design the windows. There's also issues with possible, PCBs and caulk and that sort of thing. So part of why we don't touch it is because once we disturb, it could become more and more. But it is on our list, and it's something that we want to do.
Any questions about windows and doors?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Clemens.
Also mentions here about increased security. So I know at Stevens there's quite a few classrooms that have exterior doors.
Correct.
Now, this would also remove those doors, right?
I would like to see those doors removed. It's one less access point into the building. I do go back and forth with our SROs a little bit on that. They'd like it to be a means of egress. They're not a fire egress anymore, since the buildings, they were only there for fire egress when the building was built. Since we've been sprinklered, no longer required to have that secondary exit. As if you walk through Mosier, there aren't secondary exits to get out of Mosier. So I'm from the standpoint of, it's one less door to be left propped open and one less spot for a bad guy to get in. Part of that would be the windows would have an egress point, an operable egress as part of the windows. Not operable so they can open it up because it's a nice spring day, but operable if there's an emergency that we can evacuate through that route.
And those doors currently cannot be opened from the outside, right? There's no keyhole.
They are keyed.
Oh, they are.
We've rekeyed the entire building since I've been here, other than those locks, because they're just not worth replacing the locks on. No one has keys to them anymore, other than custodial staff. I mean, they're rarely used from the outside.
Okay.
Teachers don't have keys to those doors. It's really maintenance staff.
Okay, thank you.
Another question, Mr. Addy.
Thank you. We discussed this in the facility meeting, but again, you don't have budgets done yet for this, correct? So I believe the 900,000 is pretty light.
It's very light.
Very light, yes. It's probably at least a $3 million project.
Yeah, it's a placeholder.
Yep, and which means, yes, we do need to get on that, I think soon after the mechanical equipment, HVAC replacement. Otherwise, we're just gonna have taxpayer dollars going out the windows theoretically. So, I mean, and I'd hate to phase it out over a long period of time. It may be something that we have to look at doing a referendum for, unfortunately. Because like much of these projects, they're big jobs, but to just spread them out, I just don't think it's effective. And so I just wanted to kind of make that statement. And I think that is eligible for non-priority, right?
That is eligible for non-priority. And, phasing is possible, obviously, but it's also, the more we phase, the more disruptive it is to the school environment through summers for multiple programs and that sort of thing. What's nice about Stevens, though, is it's chunked up in those wings where we can actually, do something in one wing that we can't, while something else is going on in the other wing. We can't necessarily do that in some of the other buildings, but it is possible.
Yeah. But no, I'm glad to see it on the radar, but I think we got to start getting the wheels moving here soon on that. But I just wanted to make that statement, so thank you.
Okay. Any other, Ms. Manella?
I'm sorry, Ron, I had another question about Stevens. It's not on this list, but I had a question. Does Stevens still have portables in the back?
Correct.
Oh, my. Oh, boy.
There are.
How come they're not on here?
There are.
How old are they?
The originals are probably
Oh,
88, yeah. They were installed when I graduated high
yeah,
school.
they should be. I think we should put something on here for,
So as to replace portables,
I don't.
we can't
know.
remove them because
That's-
we won't have the space. You know, if you're looking at expanding, you know, the talk might be to put an addition on that building over
More
time.
cost efficient, probably.
I mean, for a long time, they were the preferred teaching space.
Are they still?
Teachers wanted to be
Are they still?
really good air conditioning.
Yeah, they actually had air conditioning over some of the other spaces. You know, we keep them up. We recently, you know, did a full caulk, was it last summer? We did a full caulking and painting of the exterior. Two of them are fairly new. They were put in just before Mosier started, so the two of them are fairly new. And then
Yeah.
there's the other three it's easy access to the playground.
What is a portable cost, just out of curiosity? I really don't want that answer, but I'm just curious.
Well in excess of 100,000 is kind of a baseline.
Yeah, a piece, and then you have to have architects design it. You don't have to, it's just the way we've done it. I mean, I know there's portable classrooms probably in Virginia that are on cinder blocks, but we don't do that in Rocky Hill, so.
We would definitely have a bigger skunk problem if we did that, probably.
Thank
Okay.
you, Ron.
Sure.
Any other questions about Stevens School?
I just have
Go ahead,
one
Ms. Tucker.
question. If we know that the windows and doors are so much more, does it make sense to increase the number on this chart? I
Well,
know it's just a placeholder for years.
I'll be
but-
honest, that's probably close to design, I would think.
Okay.
I mean, so, you know, that would be the first step, is we have to approve money to design, to even
Okay.
get estimates, to properly go out to bid and
Okay.
get reimbursement.
Okay.
So at any
maybe-
point, we can start that process if there is some chunk of money in there. You know, we can reach out to architects and get proposals to do the design.
Okay.
So that's really, I mean, that's really an early starting point, you know, because we are so heavy in the next couple of years on some of these projects. So it's, you know, obviously, we want it done, but it's not a priority like some of the other projects.
Right, okay. Well, maybe add those words then, design. And just to make it a little clearer, that's all. Thank you.
All right, next on the list is the roof replacement at West Hill. Would you like to just talk a little bit about that? It's already in motion.
It is in motion. We will be actually putting in our initial application for grant reimbursement in the next few days. We're within the window. The state opens the window between the 1st and 10th of every month. So we've been, we got all our ducks in a row with the town council having all their resolutions and committing to the 1.6. It's a little more than 1.6 for the estimate, but, you know, that has started, and we fully intend on hitting the streets end of March, early April, to get a contractor on board to do that work.
Go ahead, Ms. Manella.
So with West Hill, is this for the whole building?
The
Or is
entire
it just
building.
over the cafeteria? From what my memory, it used to leak over there.
Every inch of that roof will be replaced,
The whole-
including the portables.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you about the
Which,
portables.
the portables are non-reimbursable, just so you know, the roofing on a portable classroom is non-reimbursable, but it's such a small chunk of it that it's not gonna be a problem.
Okay. And then I'm just curious, how are the skylights at,
That's part of the project,
oh, is it?
yes.
Oh,
Well, they don't have skylights, they have,
They have the,
they have, but it's actually windows
Yeah.
built up off of the roof, so it's not a true skylight where it's
Right.
shining down, they're
Yeah.
shining from the side. So those would be, you know, there'll be new flashing, the windows themselves will remain, but the roofs of those will be, you know, replaced, because there is actually roofing material on top of those.
Yep.
You know, with new flashing and whatnot, so, but they seem to work well.
okay. All right, I'm just curious because with all the snow that we had and, you know.
Yeah, and actually, those aren't leaking. We have leaks, but those
Yeah.
aren't leaking.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions regarding the roof? Okay. I know a number of years back, we had talked about classroom spaces there and enclosing the library and art room areas. In closings, correct? There was like building a wall up,
So,
is that what
yeah,
it was, if I remember correctly?
So if you've been in the building, you know that the Library Media Center is open to the main hallway, and so is the art room. So part of it was to put up, have glass, glass walls installed in place with, part of it is security, and part of it is noise related, and that sort of thing. And modernization. I mean, it's just, you don't really have those large open spaces anymore. So that was part of, and one part of that also is the computer room has a temporary wall that's never been, so we were gonna put a full wall in between the media center and the computer space, the computer lab. Hi, Maria.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
Because in West Hill, all of the classrooms have the accordion.
They do.
So is that what you're talking about over in the?
No. This would be so similar to what we have in place. It'd be there's a half wall right now if you walk by the library. So
No,
from
yeah,
that
I
half wall to
remember
the
that.
ceiling would be glass.
Okay.
And then we'd also have doors closing off one that goes down the ramp and the
Right.
stairs. So that's really what it is. The closing up the class. How often do they even use the folding walls in West Hill?
The folding walls, for the most part, are already closed off. It was designed,
Yeah,
back in the 70s.
back in the
open classroom
70s.
model. And so you could open up all 4 classrooms
Right.
and just have one large space, and that was typical for the time. But you had the option to close those doors and make 4 classrooms. With the exception of the reading room, I think, which is it's like a suite now, because it's a larger area with more people, but doing the same type of work. I think they're all closed.
Yeah, and I think once in a while, teachers use the door between the two to keep an eye on,
Right.
what's going on. But they're not utilized in an open, closed fashion anymore.
Okay.
Want to add to that?
Thank you.
Any other questions about the space I'm assuming that 80,000 would be like design?
No.
That's what it would be?
That would be complete.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm basing it on the other glass walls that we put in for man traps and other type of things. That number is doable.
Oh. Yes, go ahead.
That would be summer of '27, that project. I mean, you have it in next year's budget, so it'd be summer of '27.
So if we get that funding, is it in next year's budget? No,
Yeah.
that's in.
It's in '26, '27.
27.
So that's the budget we're going for now.
Right, so
That
it'd be-
realistically could get done this summer if the
If it got
funding's in
approved.
place.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
that's not a year out
It's
thing.
not a
That's-
long one, okay.
yeah,
So it
that-
could be done second part of the summer or whatever and
Yeah.
and done. Okay,
As
awesome,
soon-
thanks.
As soon as, if it's approved and the town council
Perfect.
passes their budget and it's there, I can work with my contractors to get that going.
Awesome, thanks.
We're not going to run any summer programming at West Hill, so
Yeah.
it's probably a good time to get it done.
Yep.
All right, moving on to GMS, and I know we have spent a lot of time talking about some of the upgrades that really need to be done there. So the first is the front entrance canopy, and then I'll let you talk a little bit about the Tech Ed and Media Center renovations.
Right, so, obviously, the canopy was not re-roofed, as part of the re-roofing, because there's other structural concerns with that. Not unsafe, but approaching unsafe, so it's dated, honestly. So we have a conceptual on that. That number's a couple years old, too. However, that's something that may have to move in our very fluid CIP, because I do have it checked, and as soon as someone tells us it's not safe, it's coming down. So I need to, we need to keep an eye on that. Doesn't mean it has to go back up, but just so you know, there may be a day where the kids are standing out in the rain. But that is something that may have to move at some point in time. It'll be checked again this spring. but if it's not structurally sound, we do have to take action on that. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Ron. I'm sorry. Is it as old as the whole building, the canopy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was originally installed, what year, Jay? 1963.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm so glad Mr. Maziarz is sitting in the room tonight. Thank
Jay,
you.
Thank you, Jay. I know you did.
In 1963.
Oh, he's not that old.
Jess, real quick.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Costa.
Do you have a rough breakdown of that, 800, like, what would demo be? Is it, I have no, like, is it 50, is it 100, is it 200 of the 800?
The demolition
It's
is gonna
pretty
be-
small, right?
That's gonna be the cheapest part of it.
Right, so it could be pretty small. So it's something you could, if necessary, emergency come in.
100%.
More easily fit in. Okay, thanks.
Did the same thing with the bleachers for the visitors at McVicker. At one point, they were deemed structurally unsound. They were down in like a day.
Yeah.
Doesn't, this is a little more extensive than bleachers, but still,
Oh, yeah.
come down fast.
Yeah, demo is actually the most fun part of a project, and usually the cheapest part, so.
The only issue we ever had with demo was the cupola at the old Moser.
I remember. Oh, yeah. Everybody was wondering.
Oh, yes, Mr. Clemens.
You know, the canopy, I mean, obviously, do we really need it? Is, I guess, my question. I mean, why, I know why it's there, but, I mean, inclement weather, why can't the kids just be brought right into the gymnasium?
Part of it is supervision. I can let Jay speak to that. I mean, it's, once they're in the building, it's a little, to corral them, they're only out there for a short amount of time, but it's still, it's still, it's like, actually, we talked at one point, and we actually redesigned the high school stairs when we had to do the stairs again, to be able to put a canopy at the top of the stairs. It was built for that. I mean, so.
I know, but, I mean, we don't have a canopy outside of GMS or Stevens or Mosier.
Yeah,
No.
we do. Mosher, there is.
Mosier, there's a canopy.
There is. At Mosher, yes,
Little
there
one,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, bottom line is, will we be able to operate this school without it? Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's gonna be ugly without something there,
Yeah,
though.
I was going to say, it's more aesthetically pleasing
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
canopy.
I mean, the conceptual is, it's a nice steel pitched, it modernizes the building. But this is all entirely up to you guys. You can scrap it, you can say knock it down, put a sidewalk in and call it a day. But, that's a discussion to be had. But at some point, like saying, as soon as it is deemed unsafe, it is coming down.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions about the canopy? Okay. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about the Tech Ed and Media Center renovations. I know you went through a beautiful PowerPoint with us at facilities, a meeting.
So, so the conceptuals were done, and estimates on those conceptuals were provided, and those are actual numbers that we have in there now. So it's broken down, did we break it down by, so I think, I'm not sure which Tech Ed space this is. I believe this is the wood shop, the 681, and then it's the module lab, and then it's the library and media center. Excuse me. So obviously, they're three separate spaces, so it's very easy to phase those in. And the discussion was to get to the Tech Ed before we get to the library and media center, because that is actually carrying up into the high school. So I actually had a conversation with Castle Booze last week, letting them know where we stood. And so we need a full construction design. And he's gonna provide us a cost on the construction design part of it, so we can actually move forward with that. So just so you know, so it says 26, 27, that, the funding would be in place for 26, 27, but it wouldn't be till summer of 27 before, actually 28, it would be 28 before we actually start. Because, we have to have the money, and then we have to go out to bid, and they have to, we have to make sure that we have materials and all that in place. So everything there is about a year out from where the money's in place.
Questions? we have a lot to talk about here, so we probably should have a facilities meeting again soon. You know, I'm particularly concerned only because I don't want our students going to school in middle school and then going up to the high school and not having the background that they need, especially in the tech ed department. And I also think that this is an older building. It needs some TLC. And so I do have some concerns here. Not sure how to fit it all in, though. So, but maybe that's for another facilities meeting, but I appreciate you going through some of those design costs and when things would be able to kind of start. And I'm assuming all of these things we can apply for grants for all of these, correct, or no?
Not for the remodel of those spaces, no.
Okay. All right.
Because it's technically a remodel, it's not a new space. It doesn't affect the infrastructure, itself.
Okay.
So that is not eligible at this point in time for non-priority.
All right.
Because it would have been nice, we could have done the science classrooms that way too if it was. But unfortunately, it's not.
Okay, moving on to all of the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more things that need to be changed over at the high school.
Right, so, the tennis courts, and this is in conversation with the town, they asked us to put it in here in 2 separate years so we can get a chunk of money and then a chunk of money and then get it done. So we've already done a resurfacing. We did a major one that they said was good for 6 to 7 years. We're at 8 to 9 years now. We did do a second surfacing, but it's non-repairable at this point, to the point of where CIAC might say, you can't have your event here. But that would be for a post-tension, it's 5 courts, I believe, or is it 4 courts? I don't remember, but it would be full, new fencing, post-tension concrete tennis courts. It would be brand new and it will last a long time.
What's a long time?
Good, yeah.
I will be retired. No, you're probably looking, at least 25 years.
Okay. I'll still be here.
I won't be here in 25 years.
Go ahead, Mr.
Real
Kosky.
quick, just summer, which summer would you plan that? Again, is that a quick lead time sort of item? Like if
So-
you got the money, would you want all the money in place, so then it would be summer of '28, it looks like?
It would be, summer of '28.
If this lined up, if we got the
If
money
we
that
got
we
this lined up, it'd
asking
be-
for?
it'd be
Okay.
summer of '28.
Perfect, thanks.
And we
Any
did research some grant funding for that. I met with Craig Bowman. There are some tennis, the tennis associations do have, they're very small, and there is a lot of work that you have to put in, and they also want to make sure that you have your Parks and Rec are providing certain tennis programs as part of it. So there's a lot involved in getting some of that stuff. It's not impossible still, but we did start researching it. And I know that they don't want pickleball on it. There's certain rules. It's interesting stuff.
Okay. Mr. Clemens, did you have a follow-up question?
Not so much on the tennis courts, because we kind of skipped over building envelope, which was put out
Oh,
to 20,
I'm sorry.
the 3031.
Yeah.
Is that the repointing of the bricks, is that what it is?
Yes, so that is, it's a wish list, it wasn't done as part of the renovation. We're not in any danger at this point. We did re-caulk everything as part of the renovation. We are keeping an eye. The first place that would have to be done is probably the pool. That environment seems to hurt everything. But we're not seeing any infiltration or anything. But it is something that we want to keep tabs on.
Well, I guess my main question is, this is for the high school, but what about our other schools, since they're all also brick?
No, we're starting to lose it. West Hill in particularly is starting to have some brick erosion and some pointing issues because of the salt primarily that's used around the building. And we have Kevin and I actually most recently it's starting to deteriorate a little bit more. I mean, the building's not falling down by any means. It's more aesthetic, but it is something that we have to start working at. But some of that could be small repairs, not necessarily capital.
Gotcha.
But we could do a complete study and have it looked at and see where we stand. I mean, I don't have a problem doing that if we're able to fund something like that.
All right, thank you.
I think we can move on to the athletic complex, McVicker Field visitor bleachers.
Sure. So actually, Dr. Zito mentioned it earlier that during the renovation, the bleachers were slated to have ADA accessible ramps put in, but they were deemed unsafe, so that got scrapped, and they got scrapped. They weren't structurally sound anymore. And we haven't had anything there since 2015, I think now. And we do get complaints that we don't have visitor bleachers, you know, especially for some of our larger competitive events that are there when, you know, like the Cromwell game for football. We don't have a lot of events where we fill our stadium, but the idea of mixing the visitors with the home crowd isn't always the best idea. So, you know, and that number's probably pretty close to what it would be. It might be a little bit higher. That number's a couple years old right now. I'd have to redo that number for the quote. But, you know, I think it's time. I mean, right now we have portable bleachers in place. You know, Parks and Rec put bleachers in that place, but it's just not enough. Actually, I received a phone call after the Northwest game from a Northwest parent on a Saturday morning. And I happened to, my office, no one called me. My office phone goes to my cell phone, and I just happened to pick it up. So and it was a very nice conversation, but he was very upset that he could not sit in the bleachers and kept stating that they're not high enough. And I said, I understand, it's in our capital project, but so we do get complaints about that stuff.
Well, thank you for taking those calls on a Saturday.
Well, actually, now that I'm thinking, I might transfer my office phone to your cell phone, and then, you know, some of those things might get done a little bit quicker. We'll see how that goes.
One quick question.
Go ahead, Mr. Clemens.
What would the capacity of those bleachers be?
I don't remember offhand. It's probably half the size of our main bleacher section, but I don't know what our total attendance is on those.
So roughly about half of what we already have.
Yeah, roughly.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, and we've been talking pool for a while too, so that has come
So-
up multiple times.
All right, so absolutely, we don't need any money for the pool boiler. It's just the town is funding that. The PO has been issued. We are waiting for the completion of the swim season. And honestly, if we would have started it in the last couple of weeks, we would have had a new ice hockey rink. So that could have helped save on some ice time money, but so that is in the work. That part is happening.
Oh, nice.
So the pumps, we don't have a quote for that yet. You know, the town has some money in there. Walt from Parks is working that out. You know, we're working on that together to have a redundant pump in the pool. So right now, we have one pump. If it fails, we have no flow. If we can't fix it fast enough, then we're down for a while. So we're gonna have a redundant pump system, and it's also gonna be very drive motor. So you don't need a, full RPM pumping that pool water. Overnight, so we'll have an energy savings there. So that's part of the design for that.
Okay, any questions on the pool? All right, moving on to the miscellaneous projects and classroom furniture.
Right, so this number's been in here for a lot of years, and it's never been funded. As a matter of fact, I just called Jason yesterday because a teacher needs a desk at GMS. We have no more desks, and I happen to have, John doesn't know this yet, but I'm taking one from the high school to give to Jason. So, but we have to do what we have to do.
His desk, right? He's never in his office.
So honestly, it's very important that we start replacing the furniture in our schools. Some of them have been repaired multiple times over the years. We're at the point where we just don't have any more. We just don't have replacements. I do at the elementary schools, we have spare desks. GMS is really the worst thing. The teachers, there's some duct tape holding their Formica on top of their, their desks right now, so.
That's why you don't want an office at my high school.
That's right, we're getting new furniture at his building. So, so it is important that we start systematically, and I will work with the principals, do we do it by grade? Do we just do student furniture and not, so $100,000 is a good chunk every year to get us, to be where, and the idea with GMS is to model the Mosier furniture, that desk style, that chair style, because they, so we'll be carrying that over. It's a good quality product, and it's already been board approved at one point in time. So it's really something that we'd like to carry forward for student desks and teacher desks. So actually, I would, and those are long lead as well. So that's something that, I'd have to order March, April to have in by September. So that's, we want to make sure it's not a July 1 type order and have it in place for the start of school. So that's something we have to actually work on for a couple of months before we can get them in.
Go ahead, Mr. Kosker.
So just thinking about, again, talking about all these lovely 1957, 67 years on the buildings, do you have a sense of some of the years for Stevens, West Hill, GMS as far as the furniture?
So over the years, principals have purchased through their equipment budgets, classroom replacements. During COVID, we had to have kindergartners sitting at desks so we can separate them. So that furniture actually, now that they don't have to sit at desks anymore, they can sit at their table styles. That furniture actually moved up to first grade. So we're not as bad. Teacher furniture and, filing cabinet, that stuff is in tough shape at those buildings. But I think for the most part, it'd be nice to start replacing that as well. That's why we have it in for multiple years.
Right.
But we're not going to get them all done in 1 year anyway. So it's going to be a systematic start replacing. It typically would be a grade level at a time.
Right. I guess the reason for my question is, we're at the point we need to do it each year. We need to start setting aside the money and start purchasing it so we can stay ahead of it and we don't have terribly old stuff there.
I mean, we only have 30 desks that still have inkwells in them at Stevens. So
Have what?
Inkwells.
Inkwells, that's beautiful. Thank you for that reference, that's helpful. So let's get those 30 out of there. That's helpful. That's even better than the dates of the furniture, the fact that they got
some of the
inkwells.
kids are still writing on slates. So we're good. And the abacuses are still working, so we're in pretty good shape.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Manella.
Ron, so when was the last time, because I recall my middle son when he was in 5th grade at West Hill School, and I remember being in the portable with Scott, with Mr. Nozick in the classroom, and I was like appalled at the desks. Remember? And I was like, oh my God. Was that the last time that we did a classroom?
I believe so.
Oh my, 7 years.
Yeah. So imagine, and so the furniture there is actually newer than the stuff. I mean, Jason's furniture goes back to 1994.
Oh.
So some earlier. Some of the teachers' furniture is 80s, but that was the classroom student furniture was installed with when the pods were added on.
Okay. Wow.
Student furniture is when I went to school here.
Actually,
Most of the classrooms are from, because I carved my name.
yeah, I was going to say most of those desks have his initials in it.
J. Mays, 1998.
Actually, there's still a piece of bazooka in room 702 that Jason stuck there.
Oh my. Oh boy. Okay. Well, because I remember back then we were pledging, oh, we're going to do this every year, and that was the one and only time, and that was it. 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that, Ms. Morfea. So, classroom furniture aside, the buildings belong to the town, but it's our responsibility to maintain them. And when the CIP is not funded, we can't do these projects. And I'm looking across the board, and we've been talking about this for a very long time, about things that need to be finished, and looking at money that has been put aside or a request that has been put aside, telling the town, hey, we need to get this HVAC, finished, and then to not see money put in is upsetting, because now we're at a point where we have so many projects that have to be done. We don't have the money to fund all of them right now. And even talking, 2028, it doesn't seem like it's that far away, but there's a number of projects that are on the to-do list. So we have a lot to talk about. We desperately need this capital improvement plan to be funded fully every time that we ask. And I'm hoping that keeping open lines of communication, I know our school liaison is in the room today, that we can get some money put aside on a more regular basis to fund these projects. Go ahead, Ms. Manella.
I'm sorry, I just want to make one more comment. Can I please just make a request? Years ago, under Frank Morris, we always had a tour of each school before the school year in the end of August, and the public was invited, and I think, Ron, you led the tour.
I led several of those.
Exactly.
They went away at COVID.
Yeah.
And they just never.
And I think that was a great idea. It was open to the public, and we all took the tour with you. And we started at West Hill, we went to Stevens, and so on and so forth. And I think,
Scheduled as a special meeting, is how you do it.
yes, it was a special meeting.
Kind of went by the wayside with the restrictions and COVID and everything.
Yep, and I think that needs to be picked up again, because I think our constituents needs to see what is going on in our schools.
Happy to do it.
I think that's
and
a great
have
idea.
Open door communication.
Can we make sure to invite town council?
It's going to be open to
I know,
everybody.
but I'm saying, let's make sure we let them know, make sure they can't say that, no.
Yeah, we have members of the public who participated, and it's a caravan that goes from school to
Right.
school with a schedule.
Right, exactly.
Typically started at West Hill at 7
Yep.
o'clock and then worked back to the other side of town.
Right,
We did that at least 8 or 9 years in a row, and then COVID kind of.
exactly.
The radar.
And it was great. And I still remember when we had the NIASC with the high school, and I still remember going through the school, and parents were mortified going through those halls.
Oh, prior to renovation.
Yes, yes. And I'm telling you, that was the best thing we could have ever done, is doing those tours. And I think that would be a great thing to put on our agenda for a future tours.
Did you say August?
It was
that
usually
in
end
August?
of August.
We did it until COVID, and then what we started doing with COVID was Ron would come in and do a visual report at the August board meeting, which he's consistently done each year.
Yep.
But I think it's a good idea to go back to the physical tours. It's a special meeting, typically late August, typically a couple days before school opens. And we schedule for 7 at West Hill, and we just have a schedule laid out, and, then we'll convene in the lobby at, West Hill, and then we'll
Yep.
finish the tour there and go to the second. Typically what Ron would do is point out any new projects that were done over the summer, much like he does now in the reports. We kind of switched to the report during COVID because we couldn't get, people couldn't be around each other. We were, I don't want to rehash COVID, but
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. So I think it's totally appropriate to go back to the physical tour.
Okay, I'm making a mental note, because I think we do need to try to get that on the calendar for late August.
Yeah.
Even though you do a wonderful job with your presentation, and I do appreciate the time and effort that you put into your slides and the pictures.
Actually, I appreciate Dr. Zito trying to get me out of one of those, but I've always done both. I did. Yeah.
But we just, I think we said with the visual stuff, you got
Yeah.
more into it.
Yeah.
Detailed photos and so forth.
Yeah, so, the August meeting, I typically would do my, my dog and pony show for you all, and then we would do the open tour to the, town council and any residents and families that wanted to see it, late August. Because we're still doing a lot of stuff up until, the first bell rings on the first day of school, so.
It's really like usually a couple days before
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could even have it maybe in the first week of September, after school has started, if that's,
Which would be fine too. I mean,
You know.
however we want to do it, but I'd be happy to show everybody what's going on.
and I love that you want to highlight all the things that you did do over the summer, but I'd like you to highlight the things that need to be done so people, our constituents, can see it. I think that's going to be very important going forward.
Okay.
Ms. Dudanowitz.
Yeah, I just want to build, I just have a comment to build off of what Ms. Alfredo was saying. And this list is very reactive, I think, to issues that have to be done and seem to have all kind of been on the radar for previous years. But I don't see any preventative maintenance or
That's not part of capital funding. That comes out of my operating budget.
that comes out of your operating
Yes,
budget?
Yes, yes.
So do we know, because we're talking a lot about kind of how the buildings are starting to deteriorate, they're older. So, but this list, to me, seems like all of the things that we have to do right now, but not necessarily projects that we're thinking about that we're going to need to have to do 5, 10 years down the road outside of, like the renovation at GMS. But I've never, no offense, I've never set foot in GMS yet. I know, I should. But
Come to our tour. Come to our
it
tour in
sounds like
August.
there's more that needs to be done at that school. And if we know of what those capital projects are in the future, should we start planning for them now?
Yeah, typically we do about 10 years out. We can start throwing numbers anywhere you want. I mean, to be honest, Griswold needs new flooring, in all the spaces. There's things like that. So we do have miscellaneous projects in various schools that I do start tackling, classroom carpeting and that sort of thing, where it's most needed.
Right.
So that sort of work does happen. Some of that comes out of my operating budget as well. So we do that sort of maintenance throughout. The last couple years, I did the entire cafeteria floor at West Hill, Stevens, so those were completely replaced. So we do tackle those, but they're not necessarily on the capital project.
Understood. I just think, based on this conversation, it sounds like there are other larger projects that will qualify for the capital dollars, right? And I'm just wondering if it makes sense, to your point, when we go to see the buildings, if this list is a little bit longer, will it have more of an impact? And I'm only saying that because this list is what we need to do right now, but it's not it's not considering the larger projects that are going to inevitably have to happen.
Right. I mean, I think we can probably add to the descriptions, and we're not going to have prices moving that far.
Right.
And like I said, the CIP's always been very fluid. I mean, anything can change on this. I mean, we could have something disastrous happen, and we're not doing something.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, for future planning, we can start throwing in some of the stuff that we have separate that I typically try and handle with operating budget costs.
I think it would just be helpful to see it all.
Yeah. So our
For me
capital,
personally.
I think the number is it must cost $7,500 and last for
I'll check, but I
Yeah.
think it's
5.
5 years.
Yeah, 5. So it has to have an impact of the cost of $7,500 and be usable for 5 years out. So we'd have to check on that. But there's a lot of those little projects that, honestly, if it came off of, went into CIP and came off of my, away from my operating budget, that I can actually do other things within the operating budget.
Right.
So it's absolutely something we should look at.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe at our next facilities meeting, we can start
Yeah.
talking about those things.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hi, Maria.
Ms. Manella.
Hey, Ron. So I was at Mosier School last night because my boys had basketball, and just curious, do you have to do anything at Mosier? I know it's brand new. We would like to keep it brand new, but was just wondering.
So No, and not on a capital basis. I mean,
Yeah.
things are starting to fail at Mosher,
That's
just like they're
what I
failing at the high
wanted
school.
to
I mean,
know,
we have
yeah.
some, LED drivers that are no longer in warranty, and,
Yeah.
so things are starting to go, but nothing to that level. The AC, so 19, so we're, we've had a couple of minor issues that aren't, but there's nothing large scale yet.
Okay.
We're still pretty good there.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other
Oh,
questions?
Thomas wants a koi pond.
Would you like that in the back area?
Right around the flag.
But that was a real request. I'm
Oh.
just putting it out there. I said no.
Okay. Well, we did have someone trip over the lights in the past, if I remember correctly, so maybe a
we don't-
koi pond
we
would be
don't talk
nice
about
there. No? Okay. Mr. Lamontagne, I don't want to diminish, I know there's been a lot of frustration about our capital improvement plan and all the things that we have to get done, but I don't want to diminish what it is that you and your staff do every year to keep our classrooms and the learning spaces in our district looking fantastic. They really do. You walk into buildings and everything does look really clean, and I know our kids are very happy coming to school here. You just have to ask my 3 children, as they always compare what my school looks like versus what their school looks like. And they're always telling me, "Oh, Mom, your classroom is so dirty." And it has nothing to do with me. It just is a very old building that no one is taking care of.
What year?
You know what, I'll have to get back to you about that, but it's old enough for them to close it soon. So, thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to your custodial staff for everything that you do. We do appreciate it. And, we will work on this capital improvement plan, and we will keep fighting the good fight to make sure that our schools have what they need.
Thank you, and I will pass that along to my staff.
Please
We
do.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Very good. Thank you.
Were we going to go through his facilities piece or no?
Oh.
That other tab? I didn't know if
yes,
you
that's-
wanted to.
That's
I just-
right. I'm sorry.
I just
We
didn't
do
wanna get
have
too
one more
comfortable back
tab
there.
in there. Sorry, Mr. Lamontagne.
You have a whole nother
It
tab.
is-
I don't wanna
yeah,
get too
We
comfortable.
didn't even get to the tab that's
I'm
in
sorry,
the book, which is.
I'm ready to go. I just don't want you,
Sorry. Yes, please.
that's just quick.
Sorry. I don't know if
I feel
we
like
have
the
any.
last tab
yeah.
that we haven't hit in this
It's-
whole
it is.
3-day
I was going to go
marathon,
back through
so.
that. You're right. Thank you, Mr. Kosker. Do you want me to go line by line, or does anyone have any specific questions that they just want to point out? Because Mr. Lamontagne has been talking for quite some time this evening. Facilities and maintenance is the last tab that we need to talk about in the binder.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Nozick. I was getting parched.
Just,
Go
real
ahead,
quick, and no,
Mr.
I don't really have
Kosker.
any questions. I just wanted to make sure we didn't skip it, that's all, honestly. So I know you have a budget. It's a very modest 2%, 2.5% increase to continue to do all this maintenance that you talk about to keep our buildings going. And you got lots of stuff in there, and you got lots of staff that need to be covered, and I don't really have any questions specifically on it. I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss it, that's all. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns while we're in this tab? Mr. Hattie?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I generally look at this quick and I go right to the variance. The differential is where you pick up on things. And the big one is really salaries. Or are we, is this just salary increases, or are we adding any custodial? I see are you taking out from Moser and moving to the high school?
There was a shuffle in staff, but we're not adding any additional custodians.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just a bunch of little line items that just add up pretty quick, and I'm not gonna question the little ones, and
Just on, so if you look at page 2 of mine, all 0% increases, just so you know. Just wanted to point that out, all 0%.
Jess, real quick, I'm sorry. And so those page 2 items, Ron, those are what you're talking about, that you're able to use those funds for each school to do all the miscellaneous little, fix the floor here, put the carpet in there,
Yeah, a lot of
et
that is
cetera.
so I didn't, my purchase services for contracts and PM contract, that did not go up.
Yeah.
I've been able to hold that number
That's great.
pretty good. I was actually able to hold pretty much everywhere, other than some I changed chemical vendors to keep those costs lower. So we've done a little homework to make sure we can come in at decent numbers. I had an increase in uniforms because it just costs more to buy, shirts and pants and jackets and that sort of thing. I think the only custodial supplies increase, I think, the highest one was at West Hill. And that was, honestly, it's not because of West Hill, it's because I had to take funding to make up the difference for the chemicals and the cleaning supplies we use down at Dream. Now that that's open, I was using the West Hill account to cover those, so I had to put it somewhere. And that's the building that they operate out of, so, things are there. And it was a fairly low increase, I think it was $3,500 in custodial supplies, to make up the difference there, but it's actually, where I could hold the line, I held the line. I got some very favorable, contract costs for PMs and that sort of things, and we were able to hold it steady.
Any other questions? All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Lamontagne.
Are we sure? Thank you.
All right, so now I think I can say that we have gone through every tab in the budget binder. However, I am going to open up the floor for any additional questions or comments that have bubbled up in all three of our meetings. A lot was presented to us. I know a number of board members sent questions online that were answered, but if there is anything else that you're having any concerns about or you need clarification about, now is the time to ask those questions. Ms. Manella.
Okay, I do have a quick question, and it's in regards to the consultant report that was given to us tonight. Very quickly, I added up the totals for the professional development from the BOE funds, and it came out to a total of $35,730. My question is this also from account number 330? Scott, is that professional, is that coming out of that line item? Yeah, it's on page, under object budget, page number 2.
Are you looking at the summary, the object summary?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Only because, so there's a difference of about $63,000. So I'm just wondering where that difference is.
Like what spends on?
Yeah, because is that what you're trying to show us? Is the
No, I was
This is just the consultant.
Oh, okay, just to
Yeah.
break okay, got it.
Breakdown of who's doing consulting.
Okay,
PD
out of that line
covers
item.
other expenses as well.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I thought you were trying to break it down, like, and I was like, okay, where's the rest of the money? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Tucker.
I have a question. If we could go to the object budget tab. And I want to reiterate, I think, some questions that Mr. Addy had last session. There's 4 line items that the budget didn't change year over year.
Can you just tell us what page you're exactly on, please?
So the object budget, page 1.
Thank you.
And page 2 I'll get to as well. So there's 4 line items that our budget from adopted 2025 to your proposed 2026-27 didn't change. The first line item being retirements, object code 230. So our actual spend was 32,000, and we're consistently budgeting 69,000. Object code 250, we spent 7,000, and we're consistently budgeting 27,000. On page 2, and I'll get to my question. On page 2, object code 400, purchase property services, we budgeted actual 270, and we're consistently budgeting 332. Object code 519, the field trips we're budgeting, we spent 90,000, and we're budgeting 223,000. My question, which probably can't be answered this evening, is in total, actual spent versus budgeting consistently, it's about a difference of 153,000. So is there room in those 4 line items that perhaps we can now budget for the Eaton UPS backup, or student furniture, or teachers' desks? Is there the room in those 4 line items to either just be cut, period, or reallocated to other locations? We focus so much on variances in budget, and those just point out to me that consistent budget, but haven't already spent. And I think that's what you were trying.
Yes. Not in that way, though.
Okay.
So thank you for clearing that up.
We can look into that for you. Yeah. Get an answer back to you.
Yeah.
Just remember, at the end of the day, we do have to make line item reconciliations at the end of the year.
Right.
So you know every year what our surplus is. It's typically not very large, significantly less than 1% of the budget.
Right.
Usually a couple $100,000 in a $55 million budget. There might be $300,000 left at the very end of the year. You have to have some ability to have some flexibility. And I hesitate to go too low because unanticipated things happen.
Right.
For example, concierge apartments is getting evicted. There may be things we have to deal with. So to try to, it's probably a good thing that we typically come in with a couple $100,000 of a surplus, and it all legally goes back to the town. Any surplus gets returned. So it's not as if the money is being misspent. I understand your question, but I also just want to caution the board that you get a monthly report, you get a year-end report. It's never a large balance. The one year we had a really large balance was COVID with remote learning, and that year was like $800,000, and that was quite a bit, and it went back to the town, because we didn't need the money.
Yep.
But most years, it's a couple $100,000. We're very clear with you as we come into the May report, here's what's left. So, we'll look into that. I think we do a pretty effective job of staying within our budget. We've never had to come back to the council for an extra appropriation, which you have to do if you run a negative.
Right.
Never had to do that. And I think we generally manage it pretty well, but there are fluctuations that happen.
Of course. Thank you.
Dr. Nozick, did you pull the microphone over because you wanted to speak, or?
I know the student transportation, and even though it says field trips, most of it's for athletics. We just increased that line tonight based on the transportation contract. But those other 3 items, we'll definitely take a look at those numbers a little bit more closely. I was telling somebody, I forget who it was now, it's kind of like The Price is Right in terms of Dr. Zito alluded to it. We have to get as close as we can without going over, because even if you go over by $1, you lose. So we can't do that. As you know, we're looking at some negative accounts with the paras and also the health insurance. So we have to have some offsets. I know the retirements are kind of unpredictable, but we're getting to a point where the people that qualify for those payouts are coming to an end because that's being grandfathered out, so phased out. So I know we have one that's going to have a payout, so we'll definitely hit that $30,000 mark. I don't know if we have another one between now and the end of the year. Then we will hit the 60,000 probably, but we'll definitely take a look at that. And I'll get back to you on the employee benefits, the unemployment, and the purchase services.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Addy, did you have a question?
No, I just want to make a comment if I can.
Oh,
or
sure,
is
go
it
ahead.
just That time. Yeah, so to follow up on that, I think it looks good to the rest of the town if we are doing our due diligence and trying to pull some money out where we can. Is definitely going to look good in our favor, for sure. That we're not just sitting here rubber stamping everything, so. We've done a great job, and I know we've gotten into the weeds on a lot of things that are definitely, way in the weeds, but, and great job, everybody. So, we're doing our due diligence, and this is what we're supposed to do. And I know the 8.85% is a big number, but I'm glad we're not in the papers, because it's a lot lower than what I'm reading about in many other districts, so. This is something that is across the state, that we're seeing, so. Just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns tonight?
Just one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Clemens.
I know it's in March. What's the deadline where we have to vote on our budget to send it to the council?
It's mid-March, it's 135 days before the end of the fiscal year, so I'll put in the update tomorrow.
I appreciate it. All right, thank you.
We typically, we have you for the second week in March. We moved that up to meet I think the charter changed a few years ago. So we hold the board meeting the second week in March to meet that deadline. There have been years where we've been concerned about inclement weather, where, I've talked to the chair in previous years and said we may have to slide the meeting up, but we'll get you the date. But typically you're going to adopt at that second meeting or that second week in March when you have your board meeting.
All right, thank you.
That's when you usually do it.
That meeting is scheduled for March 12th currently, but we can hold a special meeting if we need to,
We've talked
correct?
about this in the past. If you want to convene a special meeting anytime between now and March 12th, it's been done in the past to come back and look at the budget again. It's completely within the purview of the board to do that. The only thing you have to do is follow the town charter, and that's why, on the 12th, ideally, you're going to adopt your budget, and then we have to submit that number to the town, because as you know, the town then has a couple months where they work through their various departments, and then in May, they make their final appropriation for all of their departments, plus a separate appropriation for the Board of Ed and the CIP as well.
Any other questions?
I
Oh, Ms.
was-
Dudanowitz.
I was going to follow up on the PD questions that I was going to ask, but I think just, some of them are from my own personal knowledge, so maybe I can reach out to you by email and ask those questions. But just kind of, my other comment was kind of building off of what Maria was saying. I also totaled up those same three and realized that that's more than 50% of what that line item is, that you said it was the improving instruction. So I'm just kind of curious, we talked last session about, you had mentioned PDEC, which I assume is the professional development, committee that you guys have put together. So I'm just kind of curious how, because there's a breakdown of the admin, but the remaining staff, we had indicated last week, can go out for professional development. So I'm just curious how much is typically spent for staff to go out. I don't know how often they do go out for PD, but I would assume that it would be the remainder of that line, since the rest of it seems very specific in how the line items are broken down.
Yes, a large number of staff do go out to professional development. I am approving professional development workshops weekly, so some of them have a cost, some of them are free, but we do encourage the staff to participate. I'll give you an example. A lot of our PD is very focused on regular classroom instruction, And we have, all of our specialists. So your art, your music, your PE, your library media. So this year we encouraged those staff members to attend the regional, I think I mentioned it before, the RESC, We Belong to CREC. So they are going to the monthly curriculum council meetings to get updates, to get their own professional learning within their content areas. So, that's something that we are promoting for them to do. Same thing with special ed. Teachers who teach ECE and AP courses are required to do PD annually in order to teach those courses, so we make sure that those teachers get those trainings. So, yeah, there's a lot of other trainings that teachers are receiving.
Okay, and I'm only asking just because that leaves about 15,000 in that line for the rest of the district staff to utilize, so I didn't know if that is more than what you would typically use, less than what would be typically used?
I mean, I can give you a little history on the account. Typically, it was funded at about $72,000 a year, that line item.
Yep.
And then in 25-26, which is this current school year, I did request a reduction in that line item because when you looked at the expenditure at the end of the year, there was money left over. So not only was there some money left over, but I also was able to write some of those things into grants, so they offset each other. So I was able to maintain what I thought we would need for this school year. So I asked for $57,869. I received $50,869. And this coming year, I'm requesting $62,869. And the proposed budget has.
I'm sorry, I don't see that number.
That's because that's what I requested, but what is being put forward as a proposed is $50,869. And one of the things we're looking at is what are the mandates that are coming annually? What PD has to be occurring, and is there an expense associated with that? So earlier, I shared that there was actually a state statute. It's 10-222II, and that state statute required us to provide professional development in specific areas, which are listed on the consultant sheet.
Right.
Restorative practices, the MTSS. So those are specialty areas, and we went and contracted out with our RESC, and we used the individuals who are leading that training across the state. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, and I know.
That had to be done this year.
Yeah.
So it changes year to year.
Yeah, I think my overall concern is that the 24-25 actuals were almost 71,000. And that's about 20,000 short of the proposed budget. So I think my biggest concern is just making sure that staff still have the opportunities and the ability to go out for their PD. In addition to, yes, I understand restorative practices and MTSS was legislatively required, but just in addition to those.
Yeah, and it is going to be tight this year. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be tight. We are paying the staff for 2 PD days to present. We've never done that before, so we did a technology PD day and a wellness PD day, and we have a lot of presenters. So we are internally paying our own people to share their expertise with one another. And, I've said it before, there have been a lot of legislative mandates that are in the world of curriculum and instruction. Science of reading, play-based learning, that's another one that I've sent both administrators and teachers to. That's outside training. So I have not denied anything.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm
That's
not what I'm
I'm just
implying.
saying, I think we'll be fine. I'm actually projecting out to see like, I'm doing a little internal audit right now to see like, what do we have left for the remainder of the year, and what did we send people out for the remainder of the year last year in these months towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I think it
So
would,
I'm
it would be
taking a
helpful
look
to
at
see that, yeah.
And monitoring it, but I was trying to be creative by utilizing grants and fiscally responsible as well, because, we also have a very large demand for curriculum writing, and so I'm trying to balance all of those different needs. Yeah.
Thanks. And just one more question. So, assuming that the consultants are, have contracts or, a written agreement in place, are those all only for this school year?
The current contracts, yes.
Okay. So I know, like, I think it was the curriculum committee meeting, where you were talking about how they did a little bit of like the train the trainer type of a model. So is there any opportunity for any of those staff to continue training our district staff rather than contracting out some of that PD?
So we use Train the Trainer for restorative practices, and we have a nice group of people who have led that work with their peers. And Dr. Diaz and I have been working together on the plan for next year with the voice work.
Okay.
And there is some overlap between the work that aligns to restorative practices and the equity work. And so we're looking at building some of that into next year. But that's now a board goal, so we're gonna do our best to work towards that.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Mr. Kosker.
I had no questions until you talked so much about PD. But, so I guess it's more of a comment, really not a question, because I appreciate the line of questioning, because I think it's important, and again, I taught in the past, and I taught some specialty courses where the PD that you need is that kind of weird PD that you got to go out for and stuff like that. So, I just want to make sure that we do what we need to do to make sure. I mean, it's not a lot of dollars. I mean, the difference between 50 and 70 is 20 grand, and it's overall not a big number in our budget. I know a lot of small numbers add up to big numbers, I get it, so we have to be careful. But just, we want to make sure we fund it appropriately. And I guess it's not a comment to you, but just broadly to the board and everyone, just like, it's worth making sure we fund that so teachers can go out and get what they need when they want to. And I know you're saying you haven't had to say no, which is good, but you also can, it's tight and there's tight. Well, we'd rather not that be too tight, and in spots here, we're able to build in a little bit of cushion, sort of thing.
There was one that came to me that was
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So there, that one had to.
Yeah, if it's a good one though, you know what I mean?
Nice.
It's like in Florida or something, or somewhere nice,
One I would have liked
Anyway.
to run on.
That's all, thank you, thank you.
Any other questions or comments in regards to the budget for the 2026-2027 school year? No? Not tonight, okay. So there are just a couple things that I'd like to say. First and foremost, I want to thank all of the board members sitting here for your very thoughtful questions. I know I had you come for 3 full nights talking about budget, but I do feel that it is our job to go through this budget book and make sure that we have crossed our Ts and dotted our Is to make sure that the numbers are matching up. I want to thank Dr. Zito and your staff for all of the presentations that you've made in regards to the budget. You've answered a plethora of questions, and all of the documents that you handed out were very easy for us to read and pay attention to as far as, watching the numbers. And we appreciate you taking our questions on the spot and in email. And I'd also like to thank our school liaison who has been sitting in the back. Amy Forcier, I'm going to mention you again, and I know Mimi Thoreau has also been watching online. It is so important that you're here tonight, and you've been here for all 3 of our budget meetings so that this information can be relayed back to the town council and the mayor. I have also sat in meetings with the town council, executive board, and the mayor as well, trying to stress how we really need an operating budget that is fully funded this year. I also would like to thank, again, our administrators who've been sitting in the room. It has been some very long nights, and I appreciate your patience as we've gone through the budget. And thank you to the teachers union, who is also here tonight as well. I think that we have done a great job, and I look forward to passing this budget very soon. I probably will call a special meeting just so that we can talk about it one more time before we adopt on our Board of Ed meeting in March. And that way, if there's any other questions that come up between now and then, you have an opportunity to ask those. And so with that, I guess I'm going to take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Kosker, thank you. And second, I'm sorry, I heard over here, I think, Mr. Clemens, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It is 8.